Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a contact form in Showit. Alright, so let's talk about how to create a contact form in Showit from scratch. So the first thing you'll want to do is add a blank canvas. So I have actually created two canvases. I'm in one of my templates that I'm working on setting up, so I'm actually going to make the forms now and have you guys learn. So I have two blank canvases that I created. One is called Form Button. Should be buttons. And the other one is forms. So my form buttons, I'm actually going to create two contact forms and have to be able to toggle between them. So that's why I'm going to have a separate canvas to actually have the buttons. So this is a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it smaller. I'm just going to make it like 50 pixels high and a little bit taller on mobile. And then I'm going to change the background color of each one. We'll make it the light pink. Okay. And then I'm going to have to add my buttons for my forms. So I'm going to make one for weddings and one for education because this template is set up for service providers who are also educators. So I'm going to add two text layers and I'm going to say weddings for one button. And then I'm going to copy and paste that and do education for the other button. I'm going to select them both, and over here on the right, I'm going to align to group. Middle, and then I gotta make sure that I move these around on the mobile. And I also want to add a little text layer that says choose a form so people know what that means. So I'm just gonna make another text layer there. I'm gonna change the text style to be italic. I'm gonna select these all again, and over here align to group middle, and then I'm gonna align to the canvas center so that everything is aligned properly. On the mobile, I need to make this canvas a little bit bigger to make room for that choose a form text layer. And then again, under text style, I'm going to change the font to be italic. And then I'm going to align to canvas, middle, or horizontal and vertical. So there. So now I have my two buttons for my forms, all right? And we'll set click actions for those in a minute. So let's actually make our form. So in the forms canvas right here, I'm going to make this canvas bigger. I usually do it like extra large. And then I make it smaller later. So I'm going to make it 800 pixels high for desktop, and mobile I'll say 1200. So the first thing that you want to do is decide how you want your form to look. Do you want it to be like text boxes and you enter text? Do you want it to just be a line? I'm going to do a line personally and then put a text box above it. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a line. And you can go down here to the middle icon, or middle down here, and say line. All right, so I'm gonna move that up top here. I'm gonna go over to the right to line style. I'm gonna make it thinner. I'm gonna say 2 pixels, and I'm actually gonna change it to be this light pink. And then under size and position, I always wanna center it vertically to the canvas. And then on the mobile, I tend to work with both mobile and desktop open because that just saves you time and headache later. So under line style here, same thing. I'm gonna make it 2. I change the color to pink, and under size and position, I'm going to center to canvas. I'm also actually going to make it a little bit wider. Okay, so that's our line. So that's where the text is going to sit on top of it. The next thing I'm going to do is add a text layer. So down here, I'm going to go to text and then paragraph. And I'm going to drag this text field up here. I'm going to stretch it to be the same width as this line. I'm going to do the same thing on the mobile. All right, and now I am going to enter what the actual name of this field is going to be. So this is going to be for someone's name. So I'm going to type in all caps name. I do it in all caps because when people fill it out, they can still like write their name and it won't be all caps. But I just manually hold all caps and do name this way instead of setting the font style. Oops. Okay, so I have that name. Now, right now it's just a text layer. To actually make it an input box, you have to do some things. So select it over here on the right under text properties. Under contact form, select enable input. And then you can say whether or not you want it to be required. You can say whether or not you want this field to be in the subject line of your email. You can say if you want it to be a reply to, you only use this for an email address field. And then you can say what you want the label to be. So for the label, that's how it appears once you get it in your inbox. So I'm going to write name. So once you get your little Showit notification email, it'll say name and then whatever someone types in there. So I have my first field now ready to go. I'm going to say it's required. I'm going to select in subject because I want to know who this person is in the subject line. All right, so next I'm going to select both of these layers just by grabbing them both. I'm going to copy, paste. Now over here on the right, the first thing that I always do is drag these layers to the bottom. I do that because the tab order is going to be vertically, like in the vertical order here. So if you want these to, if you want name to tab to the next one when people are filling it out, the layer underneath name has to be underneath name in this forms canvas on the left. So I moved that down below, and now I'm going to actually have to move those two layers. So I'm going to tab, what did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 looks good. We'll do 5, and now I got to do the same thing on mobile. Again, work side by side, save headaches later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now I want this to be email. So I'm going to delete that, do email. I got to change the text properties because right now it says it's name. So over here on the right, under text properties, I have enable input selected. I have required selected. I don't need this in the subject. I do need reply to. That means that you can hit reply in your email and it'll be sent to that email. And I got to change the label from email or name to email. So that one's done. And now you can see over here on the left in that forms canvas, there's name and then there's email. So now it's just a matter of copying and pasting the rest of it. So now I'm going to copy and paste, again, copy, paste, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on desktop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on mobile. Over here on the left in this canvas, I got to drag these layers to the bottom for the tab order. And now I got to change the text properties of this one. So on the right, we're going to go to text properties. I don't need this to be a reply to. I'm going to make this one be phone number. So phone. I do want it to be required. And then I'm going to label it phone. So now we have our third one. So that's basically how you do it. You just keep doing that for all the text fields that you have. So now I'm going to skip along a little bit and go to the end to show you some more stuff. Okay, so I've added a few more fields here, and I want to make this last one here be a text box so that people can write more in their message box. So to do that, I'm going to take this text layer and I'm actually going to go on the right to text properties and I'm going to uncheck enable input because this is just simply going to be a label that says tell me more. All right. And if I select these two layers, you can see they're on the bottom over here. So all of these are in the correct tab order. So right now I have a line here. So I don't want a line, I want a box. So I'm going to delete that. And instead, I'm going to go to the bottom middle here and I'm going to add a rectangle. And I'm going to line this up about so. And on the mobile, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting my box here too. And then under the shape style on the right, I'm going to change the color. I'm going to just say 0 opacity because I don't want it to be color. But the border, I'm going to make it 2 and then that light pink. And I'm going to do the same thing on the mobile. Border size 2. Light pink, so it all matches. Now we have a label and we have a box. But now we need to add our text field. So now I'm gonna add a paragraph layer, and then I'm gonna put it in the box, and I'm gonna make it almost as big as that box. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the mobile. I'm going to get my paragraph layer here, bring it up to this box, and then I'm gonna make the box about as big as that box. Now I also have to move this layer to be at the bottom for tab order. And now I'm going to double click, oops, and also make sure, so right now this text layer is underneath the rectangle here, so I can't select it. So make sure that, so I did a boo-boo. So I need to drag the box, this simple layer right here is that rectangle. The rectangle has to be beneath the text layer in order for you to select it. So now I'm going to double click in this paragraph text layer and I'm just going to delete that. And then I'm going to select the empty text box we have now. It's set up both correctly on mobile and desktop and we have it in the right tab order. So over here on the right under text properties, I'm going to say enable input. I'm going to say required and I'm going to label it as tell me more. There we go. And now I'm going to grab all these layers and I'm just going to move them up just a tad. But now we got to add a submit button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, I'm going to say paragraph. I'm going to add a paragraph layer for this and I'm going to make it because I want all the text fields to match. I'm going to double click in that paragraph text and I'm going to do all capital letters and say submit. And I got to make sure that it's set up correctly over here on the mobile as well. So now you got to set some click actions here to actually submit your form. So over here on the right, under click actions, you're going to say link type canvas, which canvas, this canvas. And I'm going to say canvas view 3. And then I have to check this box that says submit contact form. So by selecting that, whatever fields you have here will be sent to your Showit account email. Now, I said view 3. I don't have any folders yet, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to make them. So the way that I'm going to set this up for me is I'm going to have 3 folders in this forms canvas. Folder 1 will have my weddings contact form. Folder 2 will have my education contact form. And folder 3 will be the thank you message that people get regardless of which form they fill out. So to add my first Canvas view folder, I'm going to go on the left over here under this forms canvas. I'm going to select those 3 dots and say add canvas view. Now I'm going to select all these layers and I am going to drag them into canvas view 1. And then to make it a little easier so I know what it is, I'll select this folder, select those 3 dots and say rename. And I'm going to rename it to be weddings form so I know what it is. Okay. And I'm actually going to add another layer in here. I'm going to add a title layer. And then I'm going to double click. I'm going to change it to weddings. And just for aesthetics, I'm going to change the size to be like 100. And then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, actually negative 90. I'm going to put it on the side over here so people know that it's weddings. And I'm going to change the opacity a little bit. So people know now that this is the weddings form. And then over here on the mobile, I'm going to do the same thing. Now I got to select all my other layers and drag them down. All right, so now if I toggle this folder, people can see that's my weddings form. All right, so now what I'm going to do is duplicate this Canvas view folder. So I'm going to select the folder on the left. I'm going to click these 3 dots and say duplicate. And now there's a folder 2 beneath it, but I'm going to rename it to be education form. So I'm going to select this folder. I'm going to hit these 3 dots, say rename, and I'm going to say education form. I'm going to change this aesthetic text here to be education, so people know this is the education form. Now I got to change my fields because these are not relevant. So I'm going to keep name, I'm going to keep email, and I'm going to keep phone, but I am going to change wedding dates to be business name. And then over here on the right under text properties, I got to change that label to be business name so that it's not wedding date. And then I'm going to change this wedding view field to be years in business. And then under the text properties on the right, I got to change it from venue to years in business. So now we have 2 different forms, weddings and education. A quick note. So once you get a form in your inbox, you're not going to know the way it's set up currently, whether it's from your weddings form or education form easily. I think there is something maybe that says it, but it's not visibly noticeable at first glance. So for me, what I do is in this first field for both forms for name, over here on the right for the label where it says name, what I do is say, I'll put weddings in front of it and then like a line and name. So that way when I get my inquiry, the first thing it's going to say in that field is weddings name. So I know that it's a wedding inquiry. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the education form. I'm going to select this folder 2. I'm going to select that name field. And over here on the right under text properties for the label, I'm going to write education and then a line. So if I get this form, I know that it's someone inquiring about education. All right, so now we have both of our forms built. We got to do our thank you message. So I'm going to add a blank folder by hitting these 3 dots on the canvas. Add canvas view. I'm going to rename this folder to be thank you message. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to add a picture. So I'll get the picture of the chick that I've been using in this site. Here. So here she is. And then I'm gonna just play around and scale it here, move it there, mobile. I'm going to add a, I'm going to add a heading, and it's going to say, thanks, I'll be in touch soon. Thanks, I'll be in touch soon. And you can add whatever you want here, like a link to your newsletter, whatever. I usually just do a thank you message, so that's what it would say. And then I'm going to have like a little fancy script layer that just says the name. So I'm going to say Verity, and then we're going to change the text style to be the script font that I'm using in here. So there. So now we have our, and I'm going to center this. We have our wedding form, we have our education form, and we have our thank you message. And now if you go to the weddings form and you select that submit button, just double check that it, under the click actions, that it's set up correctly. So right now we have the submit button to link to this canvas, view 3, and view 3 is our thank you message, and we have the submit contact form checked. And let's check the same thing for the education form. So education form folder, we're going to select the submit layer. We're going to go to click actions, make sure it's set correctly. It is. It's set to canvas, this canvas, view 3, and submit contact form is checked. All right. So now we gotta program our buttons to go to each form, which is fairly easy to do. So I usually just have the form showing. So by default, folder 1 will show. But we still need to set them. So in this form buttons canvas, I'm going to select this weddings button over here on the right under click actions. I'm going to say link type. I'm going to say canvas, which canvas, the forms canvas, which view, view number 1, because that is where my weddings form is. And now I got to do the same thing for education. So for education, under click actions, I got to set the link type to canvas, which canvas, my forms canvas, and this is going to go to view 2, folder 2, because that's where I have my my education form. So now if we go to the site and I go to inquire, if I select weddings, it'll go here. By default, it's already there. If I select education, it'll go to the education form. And if I fill it out just to show you, Katie, info at ribbonsandink.com, test, submit. Our little thank you message should come up. Yep, it does. And then I should get this in my little inbox here. Come on, show it. And there it is. Show notifications, website form notifier, Katie. So if I select this, it'll say education, name, Katie. So I know this came from my education form. So that's how you test things. So that is how you create a contact form from scratch in Showit. I hope that was helpful.